WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. Free speech lives here. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
And away we go, live on this Monday, April 3rd. It is indeed Kayal and Company here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We are always streaming live on the free Odyssey app and also on YouTube as we head till 10 o'clock this morning. 855-839-1210 is the phone number. You can get involved on Twitter, the radio station at 1210 WPHT. I am at Nick Kayal, Kayal. Dawn Stenzlin with the news. Greg Stocker, the chairman of the board. Anthony Dorenzo and Daniel Valdez, the associate producers, as we kick off the month of April here on a Monday. How's everybody doing after a very interesting weekend?
Doing great. Good morning.
Hello. Gregory.
Did everybody survive the storm Saturday night?
Yeah, it was crazy.
I saw Dawn posting live video.
Yeah.
With the hail.
It's like she was Jim Cantori for the Weather Channel. It's like, don't blow away.
It was 71 degrees
I know.
and sunny earlier.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And then something went terribly, terribly wrong.
All of a sudden the winds picked up and
Yep.
my phone and my wife's phone started going off. We're like, maybe we should go in the basement.
This could be it. I thought I was back in Nashville, Tennessee. They get a lot of tornadoes.
What do you do, Nick, in the high rise that you're in?
We went down to the basement.
Did you?
Well, the first floor. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I watched the Phillies get their face knocked in again.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia Phillies fans, after a 3-game sweep in Arlington, are saying this morning.
I'm done with this.
But luckily, there's 159 to go.
Wow.
Speaking of the Phillies.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe not the best time to announce we have these tickets, but
How about that? Yeah.
Come on.
If you want to see the 0-3 Phillies at this current time, well, we've got some tickets to give away coming up at 9:20 this morning for our morning mystery movie clip.
All this week we'll be giving away.
How about that?
Yeah.
We go from Adam Sandler tickets to the Phillies.
Yep.
And you think we just give away junk? No shot. All right, we got a lot to get to this morning, from Trump to tornadoes, to Philly cop cars, to Fetterman, to the Phillies, and all sorts of crazy stories along the way. Of course, a great cut sheet coming up at 7:45 this morning. And throughout the program, Greg Stocker will make outrageous demands like following us on YouTube and Instagram.
Well, I believe we're streaming live right now, right? I guess.
I don't know.
I think we're streaming live right now.
Dawn, are we live, Dawn? Is Dawn ready for this? Was Dawn tipped off?
Dawn is not on. Neither of us are on camera.
Our cameras are off.
Okay. Well, as long as your microphones are on, because we don't want to have to hear something like this.
Do you hear me?
A lot of people.
Did we make a soundboard out of?
Yeah, okay. A lot of people over the weekend saying, "Where's the video of the bus driver? We need to see the video."
Yeah.
It's out there if you want to find it. Yeah. So we'll try to move on from that, but I got a feeling we'll be hearing some bus driver comments throughout the morning. All right, 6:06 here on this Monday morning. I almost skipped ahead to hour 2. That's how fired up I am.
YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT.
Exactly.
YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Check us out live right now. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button.
There you go. Simple enough. But it's never simple in the world of news. And Dawn Stenzlin has the details here on Kayal and Company.
And good morning. Updating you on, I tweeted this out over the weekend. There is an investigation after an aggressive crowd attacked police vehicles. It looks like no officers were injured, but it all started when one officer, according to police, attempted to try to disperse a very large crowd that had blocked entry and exit to that parking lot of the casino along Delaware Ave in Philadelphia's Fishtown neighborhood. So with his car's lights and horns, blaring and indicating to the crowd. Well, how did they respond? not by listening to the officer, but by jumping on the vehicle and banging on the windows.
That's like a movie.
Because that's how we roll in Philadelphia, in opposite land, right? No, officials said when another police vehicle arrived to provide assistance, the crowd then pounded on that vehicle as well and then slashed its tires. So more officers called to the scene as these officers were clearly, in a potentially dangerous situation with this very large, unruly crowd. They ultimately did disperse the crowd in several different directions, and officers say they got the thing under control. But another nearby police car was also vandalized in the midst of this crazy melee. Saying no injuries. We don't have word of an arrest or any arrests, but this continues to be under investigation as it was captured on camera, we're told. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, he's back home in Pennsylvania in Braddock after being released from the hospital since February 15th. You'll hear from him. He was actually interviewed yesterday morning on at least one of the Sunday shows. And President Donald Trump expected to fly from Mar-a-Lago to Manhattan today to make that court appearance. So actually Fox has a camera on the Trump plane,
I see that.
like on standby
Mhm.
for Trump to leave. But that
Yep.
court appearance is scheduled for tomorrow. We'll talk about that moving forward.
Dawn obviously out partying this weekend, as I can hear in her voice. So.
Uh-oh.
Right, because I'm such a big partier. No, I don't know what this is. Allergies, something
Oh,
weird.
God.
Phil's.
Yeah, I got hit with it on Friday too. I told you that, remember?
I know.
I don't know what's going through the air again.
It's weird.
I'm gonna have to quarantine both of you.
All the wacky weather, which I'll get to. Phillies lost to the Texas Rangers 1-2. But there's news, there's word that Bryce Harper may be back sooner than expected. So
Yeah, they're like, please come back.
they're teasing
Please,
us with that good
please.
news. Yeah. Please, please. And yes, cleanup is underway. Speaking of the wacky weather in New Jersey and Delaware, after 5 confirmed tornadoes ripped through neighborhoods, tearing trees from their roots and snapping telephone poles. National Weather Service confirming, yes, that these tornadoes hit Cinnaminson, Jackson Township, Seagirt, and Howell Township. So in Jackson Township, they say that the 100,000 square foot bubble at Six Flags Great Adventure, they're now closed right now because why it collapsed due to all the storms.
Oh.
Yeah, what a mess. So it'll be closed through Wednesday, actually, of this week. Tore through Cinnaminson, categorized as an EF1 by the National Weather Service. Just a crazy situation. Touchdown near Riverton Road, Woodside Lane, and then moved to Wynwood Drive and Locust Lane. Actually, in Delaware, we've now learned that one person was killed. This was in Sussex County after a line of powerful storms tore through that region and their home collapsed. We don't have the name of the victims, but obviously this was all part of that violent storm system that left nearly 24 dead in the South and the Midwest.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, Nick.
Mhm.
Did we know that this was coming? I don't follow the weather on the weekends, so my weather report literally comes from Dawn every morning. So, Saturday mornings I don't get a weather report from Dawn. Maybe I should. Maybe you should start sending me a weather report.
I kept
you know,
seeing the updates because I was watching the Final Four,
Yeah.
and they kept cutting in on CBS 3.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you want to see the full game without any weather nonsense, go to CW 57. But they kept going back and forth on Channel 3.
Yeah.
That was like for 2 hours.
No, but I mean, like earlier in the day, did
I
did
didn't
we know
notice.
that this was coming?
No, but I'm kind of used to these from 5 years in the South.
They were saying that they were potentially, we knew there were, there would be high winds, but 5 tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To your point,
It blew through Montgomery County in probably 15 minutes, and it just kind of looked like a normal hardcore like thunderstorm type weather.
Yeah.
But obviously it hit down elsewhere.
Oh, so you didn't get the hail?
No, I saw you did though, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get hail either.
Yeah.
Like all the towns around me got hail.
Yeah.
But we didn't get it. But I saw Dawn's video that you got. Did you have any like tree damage or
Yeah.
anything? You did?
A lot of down trees in Chestnut Hill, Mount
I
Airy.
need to get on my neighbor
What
about
was
taking down some tree limbs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's go here.
what was Buddy
Hangs over my
Buddy
property.
doing?
Oh, Buddy was hiding. See, that's where to Greg's point, see, Buddy is our resident meteorologist. When Buddy suddenly takes, runs and
Mhm.
he's like under the the bed with his like he gets a blanket and
Well,
he's
they
like
can
shaking.
they can sense these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
So about within like 45 minutes, all of a sudden it's like, "Where's Buddy?" He's like, "Oh, my," you know what I mean. So that's your forecast. Look, the T-Mobile Weather Center forecast is teeing us up for some pretty nice weather. Today, 65 degrees. Tomorrow, near 70. By Thursday, near 80 degrees. So we are in for a real spring-like treat coming up. And that's the T-Mobile Weather Center forecast. I'm Dawn Stensland, Gale and Company News Live.
Dawn with the news. Thank you very much. Dawn, 855-839-1210. The phone number, 612 on this Monday morning as we kick off another week and another month with the Big Take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
The Big Take this morning, from the untouchables to perhaps the unwantables. And if you read the room, perhaps you monitor the polls, and we certainly take polls with a grain of salt these days here on Kayal and Company. Or if you gauge the public, there's a theme going around our nation. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are viewed by some, if not many, as the unwantables, as in Americans want something new. Now, I'm not sure if Joe Biden would be Elliot Ness or if Donald Trump is Al Capone, but one thing I do know is that there is some truth to the Biden and Trump fatigue. And we're obviously excluding the hardcore Trump supporter because his numbers, Trump, under the hardcore supporter, skyrocketing as he separates from Ron DeSantis within a Republican GOP primary. But when we're talking about the 2-4 leaders when it comes to 2024, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, there are stark differences. One gets a pass from the media. The other was never given a chance by the media. One randomly shouts during speeches and then drops in the occasional creepy whisper. The other loves to post messages on social media in all caps. Both have been linked to boxes of classified documents, and both might have worn out their welcome in the eyes of the American public. In two recent polls, voters in this country have said, we want something different. Let's start with Joe Biden. In the latest Monmouth University poll, only 1 in 4 Democrats want Joe to run for a second term, and more than 4 in 10 would prefer to see the incumbent step aside in favor of another candidate. That according to self-identified Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters. These voters, however, do not have a clear idea of who they would like to see as the party's nominee in place of Biden. Classic Democrat mindset. I don't want this, but I don't have a solution for what I have. And yet over half, 51% to be exact, of the Democratic electorate cannot offer a name when asked if they would like to see someone else step in as the party's nominee if Biden does not run. Among those who have a preferred alternative, Vice President Kamala Harris at 13% is the only potential contender who registers above single digits. Seems to me that the Dems are very old, they are very thin, and they are very unproven on their presidential bench. If they were a sports team, you wouldn't want the general manager being around much longer. You would want him fired for not finding and developing enough future talent. And then we get to the other half of the unwantables, that being Donald J. Trump. In the latest Marist poll, and again, you take these polls for what they're worth, only 39% of Americans have a favorable opinion of Donald Trump. We'll see how these polls look in the future and in the upcoming days and weeks, as what's going on in Manhattan could certainly give an uptick to Donald Trump. But that poll that I just referenced for Marist found that only 38% of national adults want Trump to be president again, while the majority of 61% do not want the Republican to serve another term in office. According to the survey, 76% of Republicans, 34% of independents, and 89% of Democrats want Trump to serve another 4 years in the White House. On the flip side, 89% of Democrats, a whopping 64% of independents, and 21% of Republicans do not want Trump to return to the White House next cycle. As Trump makes a third bid for the White House, 81% of Republicans and 37% of independents have a favorable opinion of the former president. Now, keep in mind that these are merely two polls conducted in March of 2023, and the election is still a year and a half away. But I'm picking up on this common theme from the polls. There is fatigue. Fatigue on the Biden side, fatigue on the Trump side. And the vibe could very well be true. Joe Biden and Donald Trump have exhausted voters. 4 in 10 don't want Biden, 6 in 10 don't want Trump. One man isn't wanted because he's been a disaster, and the other man isn't wanted because he's got baggage. With that being said, I want you to think about the term parity. It's an interesting word, isn't it? It's defined as the state or condition of being equal, especially regarding status or pay. The more I think about it, parity, based on that definition, sounds like a Biden administration buzzword, but it's not. Other words that parity are similar to are equivalence, sameness, or consistency. But I want to compare parity in sports to parity in politics, and it's very timely coming off of the weekend that we just had. When I did sports media, I always heard fans who were clamoring for parity. They were tired of the same teams and the same players always winning every year. They were exhausted by the Yankees in baseball, Alabama and Nick Saban in college football, Tom Brady and the Patriots in the NFL. Yet, you know what? You always watched. And those games always got great ratings. Why? Because brands matter and dynasties sell. You know what doesn't? Parity. Did you pay attention to the Final Four this weekend for March Madness? You know, where we all want the upsets and the little guys to shock the world early on in the tournament, make your bracket look a mess, and then you complain when they go too far in the tournament, and small schools like Florida Atlantic and San Diego State make the Final Four, and you don't watch? Ratings aren't great usually when the little guy makes it all the way to the final leg. That's because parity in sports is a bogus desire. But in politics, maybe parity is desired. And maybe it's desired more now than ever before. That's what the Monmouth and Marist polls are telling us right now. Americans are fatigued from Biden and Trump. I personally am not. It's great content for this show 20 hours a week. But they don't want to see or hear from the Nancy Pelosi's anymore, the Mitch McConnells of the world, and all the other lifelong political hack swamp creatures. Term limits, anyone? Yeah, we've heard that before. But people are tired of the presidential families that are like aging dynasties. And yes, again, it's only two polls, but over 40% done with Biden, about 60% done with Trump. But it goes beyond them. No more of the Bushes, no more of the Clintons, no more of the Obamas, no more of the Bidens, no more of perhaps even the Trumps. We will see. It's still likely that these two will be the last two standing as we roll into 2024, but time will tell. Now, look, this is, of course, excluding both Biden and Trump's base and those who will be loyal. You've got clueless Democrats that will just root for Joe Biden because he's not Trump. And, of course, you've got the Trump support and the Trump base that will ride or die with 45, and they will ride with him forever. But to the common person, which us doing the show and our hardcore listeners probably don't fall in that category anymore, this may be proof that parity, now more than ever, is needed and wanted in American politics. Could it be a Nikki Haley? Could it be a Ron DeSantis? Could it be a Tim Scott? Could it be a Gavin Newsom? Or perhaps another name that hasn't even been front and center for decades? We could get more of the same in 2024, or we could have the perception of parity finally become the reality of parity. And Americans may have two new fresh faces bidding for the highest seat in global politics. But as a gambling man and someone who is skeptical of polls, I wouldn't bet on it. And that's the big take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
All right, big take this morning. If you guys want to join the conversation, 855-839-1210, the phone number, 855-839-1210. We'll get Dawn and Greg's reaction when we come back. And also a busy weekend and a busy week ahead for Donald Trump. All the details coming up next here on a Monday edition of Kayal and Company on Talk